Welcome back, everybody, to Dan Has Fun with me, Daniel, playing more Humankind. Last episode, right at the end, we got a notification from the game itself saying we only had 30 turns left. So I had to think about what I wanted to do. And I feel like the most important thing to do, given this is the first kind of run through of this game that we've done on the channel, is to try and get to the point where at least we can see the final era. So that means we're going to have to try and get 2 era stars as efficiently as we can. We're fairly close to getting one for influence alone, but then the next closest one we have is agrarian stars, which takes another 12 population. So I do think they are the 2 closest we're going to have. The science one's not miles away, but what I think this means is we want to retool a couple of cities to pump out as much food as possible. So this city, for example, Pangaea, we're going to take 2 population, dump it into food. Napata's actually losing food, which is not going to help me in this pursuit, but there's not a huge amount I can do about that right now. It is building food buildings. Sus is building a military unit, and then after that we're just going to go and get out more and more food. So get a couple of those down. Nemossos is yo-yoing on food, so let's get... Actually building the Taj Mahal. We're never going to have a chance to build that, are we? Let's be honest. Let's get that built first, and then if we get the Taj Mahal, that'll just be a bonus. That's an outpost. I'd love to turn it into a city, but I can't afford it for influence. Roma is going to be able to start building more and more farm districts without any issue. Its stability is pretty good right now. Unfortunately, it's not a very good farming location, but we'll at least do something. That's just an outpost. Then our capital, once it's built that science building, can go over here, get a hamlet, and get a farmer's quarters, and then we're going to clearly need to get a bit more influence and stability. So we will put down a couple of commons quarters. And that should stop it going into revolt. That's the hope, anyway. The printing press is actually not going to be as important as getting the hamlet. So let's get the hamlet done first. Do you have any more farmer space? No, you have 17 farmers. But we're going to clearly need more. The hamlet's going to give me another one. So we do have that. And then obviously the farmer's quarters will give me another one on top of that. So hopefully we'll be able to grow a little bit. But we're probably going to lose population before we gain it. We do have another event, a common curriculum. There's increasing debate as to whether girls should share the same classes as boys. Not going to bother reading the rest. Do we segregate them, integrate them, or stagnate? If we segregate, we get more faith. Don't care. If we integrate, we get more science, which is alright. Yeah, we're just going to do that. We need science.
You have reached the end of an ideology.
I've been on the end of that ideology access for quite a long time, so that's fine. We're going to keep motoring through on turn 272. We're still not looking like we're going to get attacked, although they do have 2 7 stacks here, although I'm more curious by the fact the Nomad Horde might just be there because they're pillaging land. They're jealous of me, but they are significantly weaker than me, potentially. What crises do they have going on? Oh. Our vassal became the Ottomans. So, yeah. The Zulu are still black there. Oh, I need a more clear indicator. Because you can see it when you scroll all the way out, but that's about it. We do have a new tech, so we have line formation. That's where you get the extra unit slot available. And we have an entrenching tool, so we can dig in if we want to just stick in place. And we have our unique unit, which we will probably not see much of, but at least we know that we do have it just in case. We're just going to go for the cheapest techs at this point. And I'm pretty sure I can't... Okay. If I do that, that'll work. So we have those 3 techs. They're the 3 cheapest techs to research. That's why we're going for them. A new event, Angel Wings. For the longest time, Haojing has faithfully served as the breadbasket of the Empire, its rich farmland a source of envy in other territories. The people of the region, however, have often been called idle and accused of neglect or worse. Now, though, zoology has identified a parasite thought to be responsible for what many thought a character defect. Hookworm. The region's reputation for lethargic, exhausted workers with distended bellies and emaciated shoulder blades, angel wings, is clear. What will you do, though? So we can spend 100 gold to get temporary stability, we can spend 200 gold to get more food, or we can discredit it, and there's possibly an event where they're going to be unhappy, I would imagine. We're just going to treat it. It costs the most money, but I feel like it's the right thing to do.
Think of it as being focused.
And there is our influence star. So we need one more star to get into the final era of the game before the timer runs out. Because the game, if you're on the standard speed setting, like this game is, 300 turns regardless of what happens. Unless you become the only empire left, I guess. But any other scenario is going to be time-based. We're clearly not going to get very far to the end of the tech tree. I mean, look how much more of it there is to go. This has not been a very fast-teching game because everybody's been at war pretty much constantly. So these last few turns, it's been pretty peaceful. So that's what has happened there invariably. What we can do now, though, because influence isn't going to matter a huge amount anymore. So what we can do is we can take Daramar down here, turn it into a city. Yes, it means we're going to hemorrhage influence, but it also means we now have the ability to grow our population, which will obviously help speed this process up. Hamlet's not actually going to be that effective on this location. So instead, oh my word, the territory is terrible. Oh my lord. This is like one of the worst places I've ever seen. So bad. We're going to have to put one of these down, although I don't think we have a location we can even... Can we even put it anywhere? Why did it even let us be a buildable building we can't build? Anyway, we'll start there. They're going to start growing in population anyway, so we'll let them do its thing. That'll help us get towards this agrarian star. We only need 2 more population. Alternatively, we only need 4 more districts, so we do have options. We're going to get there at some point. So, Akkad is not losing food right now, but it is completely maxed out on food, but not on population. So we should get 1 more food district down. It's the one that doesn't suck. Oh wow, 20 food. We'll take that. And then, beyond that then, we don't need to get science. So this is not a science location. So I guess we will just get some production instead. Add 2 more districts. And there we go. We got our agrarian star. So next turn, we could wait to get to the next, to get to the next era, but I want to at least be able to show it for a few turns because we have 22 left, so it'll be 21. I want to at least be able to show it. So we do have the ability to go to the next era. Let's pick a faction. So we can be Australian, which is pretty much all production. And they actually get pollution involving building as well. They do get an all-terrain PMV, which I enjoy. Just the thought of that. And it ignores all-terrain movement penalties, which is really, really cool. We can be Brazilians, and it's all about food. You can also get these jungle brigades, which I think are really awesome as well. Very thematically, and I enjoy them thematically. The Chinese, money, and then their Congress building is a bit like a hamlet. Gives you slots for everything, but it counts as a market quarters, which I find interesting. They have Guardian units, which are multi-rocket bombards, effectively, so they can use the bombard action twice per turn to get rid of digging, but notice you need a couple of resources that we don't have right now, so we'll talk about that more afterwards. The Egyptians are just about influence. I feel like they needed a bit more going on. Like, this is not very interesting. Indians, where we have their influence related as well, but they also kind of focus a bit more on gold. They have a unit called the Peacekeepers, and they get bonus combat strength for each war declared on their owner. So defensively, they're very, very useful. But again, I feel like they didn't get a huge amount. We can have actual Japanese, not Edo Japanese. Just a massive discount to technology. And then their robotics lab gives production and science, and gives slots for both, but also creates pollution. I like this building a lot. Big fan of this one. Their unique unit is a plane. So it's pretty cool. However, it is light, so it's destroyed if a single attack ever removes more than half the unit's health. So if it gets a less than 50% health, it dies. So that's something to bear in mind. They are very, very flimsy. We then have the Swedes, who are also science-related and science-oriented. They get a unique naval unit instead, the Stealth Corvette, which is stealth, as you could imagine. But they are purely science. We can have the Turks, which, weirdly, they get a farming and food-based bonus inherently. +1 food per population is pretty good. But then their unique building, the public school, is mostly science-related, but you get +1 science per farmer slot. It's a very weird building. I like it, but it's weird. They get a missile as their unique unit, which is interesting. You get the Americans. They get a plane as well, the Lightning. But they are predominantly influence-related. You can get the Soviets, which are going to be much more, well, industry and defensively oriented. And then also we just stay as the Italians. I don't think it's really going to matter, particularly what we pick. Let's just pick something that's interesting. Let's just pick Japan because it's fun. I also love the Japanese business suit that you get. So that is primarily why I picked it. I do like the suit. It's very, very swanky. Big fan. There we go. And unlike previous times where I've, been in the transition of switching era, I'm not just going to cut the video this time. So what we'll do, let me just, first of all, you still have 100% stability. I guess you might as well get one of these unique buildings anyway. And, oh wow, +3 food's the best tile available. That is horrendous. I'd rather do that instead, get some stability and a little bit of everything. Yeah, but these locations suck. Something real fierce. So yeah, I'm going to end the turn. I don't know if the cutscene's going to run. We'll just see what happens. And if it does, you'll see it. If it doesn't run properly, like the last cutscene, there'll be a nice jump cut to nowhere. Be right back.
Knowledge and technology form the backbone of the culture. But where would the world be without sushi and manga?
It's very pretty watching the buildings go upgraded there. As you will have noticed, there was no cutscene in there because it was probably running at about 4 frames per second. it was a pretty rough go. So I saved you the hassle of having to hear the pain. So I didn't want you to do that. But yes, the fact that you can now zoom in, you can see. Honestly, they look like buildings you get in a toy set as like a 7-year-old kid, but they're different. There are now tenants available, I guess. It's not going to be hugely relevant for us, given how religiously uninclined we have been. But I guess while we're at it, we might as well get something, right? These are not percentages, though. These are just flat numbers. Wow, not very interesting. I'm just going to pick the production one. Okay. So yes, we just got a new tenant. Thank you. I literally just clicked on it. You don't need to warn me about it. That's fine. So, Napoli. Finally a name I can pronounce. We can get stuff set up. Unfortunately for me, this is not the location to really show this. If I put a robotics lab down there, I actually lose food, so we'll just put it down there, I guess. And then after that, we're just going to help build the Taj Mahal. I'd like to get the Taj Mahal built before the game ends, just to show you the Taj Mahal. We just finished building the Kodai Ji. Probably not how you pronounce that. You get 100 faith for it. And then, yeah, I'll say, how far will you push humankind? The Japanese have entered the final era. Once any of the following have occurred, the empire with the most fame will be declared the winner. So we get to 300 turns, which is what's going to happen here, because we've been playing this pretty slowly. Earning every contemporary era star, which is not going to happen before turn 300. Earning all of the endgame technologies, that's definitely not happening. Eliminating every other empire, vassalizing all the surviving empires, sending a mission to Mars, or rendering the world unfit for human life. That's where the pollution bit comes in. If pollution gets so bad, it becomes impossible to live, and then the game ends. We're not going to run into that problem either. We're not going to worry about the pollution mechanic, because we're not going to have to. But we might end up pumping out a little bit of pollution by the end of this game. We don't care about any of that. Religious tolerance. That's probably not a great thing to say, but you know. So I had to click away for a second there. Oh, alright, so we have chartered companies researched, and that just unlocks barrack services, just more money on outposts, and then there's just some money buildings. And the Cabinet of Curiosities, which is just more science. Not going to be that helpful for us at this point, so we're going to end turn. I can't believe after all this posturing that the Zulu have done, that I don't think we're going to actually end up in a war at any point before this game ends. After all of that, we've got a new event, the Walking Wounded. We can either honour them, which costs money, but you get more stability for 10 turns. We can ignore it, or we can rehabilitate. Which we're just going to do because it creates more science. I'm going to try and at least get a few texts so I can show you a little bit. But yeah, at this point, actually, if we go to the text screen, nothing is going to be unresearchable. The problem is that these endgame texts need like 32 turns each because our science production is, well, it's elite at this point, but it's not actually good enough to do what we need to do. Which is a little bit sad, but there's some pretty cool texts in here. High density habitation would be very, very helpful. Especially this a really helpful endgame tech for just spamming out your numbers, getting 4 slots for all 4 types.
Another empire
very helpful.
Built and gained the vision of the great lighthouse of Alexandria. Maybe they'll let you.
So we can keep going.
5 commons quarters offer many different entertainments that are colourful, diverse.
We have 5 commons quarters. Apparently, like I said, I didn't build very many of them at the start of the game, really, at all. Seuss is going to help build the Taj Mahal, which means we'll be able to get the Taj Mahal probably before the end of the game, if I get any other cities to do it. We just unlock naval artillery, which is another unit slot available for each army. So theoretically, at this point, if I just pick an army at random, yeah, I can have actually 8 slots at this point. Again, I'm not going to need to, but we can. Haojing. Start getting some robotics labs. Massive science, massive production. We're not going to build too many of them, because like I said, realistically, we're not going to really use a lot of it before the game ends, but I just want to get a couple out, and then I'll have it do the Taj Mahal right at the end, just in case we end up close on timer. Get one out there. And then we'll do the same thing. We want to make sure the Taj Mahal gets built, just so you guys can see it. We also have this scientist trait, by the way, which is interesting, which we'll talk about in a moment as well. Apparently they are sullen towards us now, which is interesting. Yes, so scientists. Interesting. So science affinity, you get more availability for researching, which is good. But let's say we pick on a CAD for a moment. This will now become active. So you can set cities into collective minds. It turns all of your production and money into science. Which, if you're just kind of sitting around not doing anything, it's going to be awesome, right? We don't really have the luxury of doing that because we were never far enough ahead to actually make use of that. Here, though, it's tempting to do that. I'm going to put it in collective minds just to show you. So, production drops to 0. So we will never, ever build the Taj Mahal, at least if it was just this location doing it. It's not, so we're fine to do it. Yeah, it will literally make it 0 to boost your science up. And we're probably just going to leave that in collective minds until the end of the game. The Ottomans are now sullen about us as well, which is interesting. Our own vassal is sullen. Why would our own vassal be sullen?
Terribly sorry to bother
They're just too weak to do anything, I guess. Okay. I'd like to see this guy become sullen rather than jealous, because jealous means they could attack me, potentially. We need another tech to do. I guess we're going to do patronage, because, again, it's the cheapest. Feng Hao has got starvation going on. Roma up here, do you want to also go? Or, yeah, you might as well. Let's get you in there as well. At least we're pumping out some actual science now. What are we up to? Yeah, so in the space of like half a dozen turns, we've gone from what's a elite 1,337 science a turn to 1,864. If we'd been able to get to this earlier, because at this point I'm not worried about being attacked by the AI, even if they ended up attacking me, they're going to be too slow to do anything of any use to me. I just want to try and crank out fame at this point. We are in the lead. I think we're going to be okay, but I would like to get a bit of a buffer just in case. We're not going to build a Japanese unique unit, let's be honest. We're never going to get to this technology. It's just not going to happen. Sorry to tell you, it's just not happening. Not happening. Dapper suit, though. And we'll keep going here. Honestly, I might just play this till the end of the game at this point. In this one episode, you might end up with a slightly longer episode, but oh no, right? Yeah, there's luxury manufactory. It's just extra fame, so we might build a few of them just in case, like I said. The Zulu are now hate-filled because they're demanding something which we're just going to ignore. We're not going to give them that. We're not going to give them that. Oh, wow, they are really angry. Bit late. You get the Playhouse, which is just more influence, or the Inventor's Workshop for more science, which is actually more science per niter, or saltpeter, sorry, which is interesting. And then just a flat 10% science. So if we end up with Encyclopedia, you actually can't sacrifice population anymore, which is interesting. Not that I've really been doing it, but it's interesting. We'll go steam engine just so we can show the coal. And then you end up with a colony blueprint, which is pretty helpful. And it gives you, if you were somehow at this point in the game building a new colony, which obviously here is not going to be a thing, unless you wanted to go up here if it's not technically counted. It's actually a resource up there that's pretty helpful. Speaking of which, now we know that we have sea nuclear power in the form of uranium. And we also have the other resource here, aluminium. Or aluminum for my American friends. Why are they attacking me? We're just going to retreat, but I don't know why they're attacking me all of a sudden. So I guess we'll turn auto-explore off they are also going to retreat.
Greetings. To what
They're not at war with me, they're just being unpleasant individuals. So we're going to turn their auto-explores off, and then we'll combine them together just to protect them. Do we have any other naval units we have to worry about? We're going to turn that off as well. That's already off. Okay, that's fine. That was rude of them. The riches of far shores. We have a new civic available, materials procurement. I'm just going to do that because it seems thematically appropriate.
Trading goodwill, good ideas, and good stories.
And let's see what this would be.
I can turn the other cheek, but only if you pay.
This is clear. You are poison.
I know she is poison. I'm not sure if it's worth doing or not. I'm going to leave him alone. Not worth it. On turn 292. And I'd like to show you some other stuff before we go. Okay. Really? Are you kidding me? They actually came to attack me again. They have carracks. I have carracks. Why am I weaker than them? I'm just going to resolve it and have me lose. That's fine. It's irrelevant, honestly. Wow, okay. Suddenly the Dutch air is like, we have ships, we must use them. Okay. I'm just going to move my other naval unit over there. This guy's going to run away. Over here. There we go. Not sure why the AI's decided all of a sudden to be like, hey, I have ships, let's be an arse. But that's just the way it goes. I'm trying to retreat and the game's just like, no, 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 no. Must pursue. If they want to keep going after it, that's their own prerogative, but I'm just going to waste their time anyway while they do it. Okay, so Feng Hao. Anything for you worth doing? You can actually build forests. Forests do reduce pollution, so if you end up going crazy on things like robotics, then it's not actually going to be that bad. You'll notice our pollution counter is now going up. But to get to the next level of pollution, you have to be at 25,000. So needless to say, I'm not worried about it. And forests only reduce pollution. They don't do anything else. They don't give you a bonus to anything else. It's purely just reduced pollution. That's it. So not a big deal. Honestly, I'm just going to keep spamming these out at this point. No, don't do that. I'm sure I won't need to have that in there to build the Taj Mahal, but again, just in case something really weird happens. On turn 294, you're just going to station in place. You are going to try and run over here. I know I keep getting grievances because the Dutch have decided now they want to wake up and do something. Nope. Okay, just resolve it. Have my guy lose. It's fine. Don't care. Then an event. City for everyone. So we can spend 500 gold and get bonus stability. We can modernize and just sacrifice science for... sacrifice money for science or vice versa. We're going to go for science. I know, I've been at the end of an ideological axis for a very long time. The game just keeps telling me.
The Taj Mahal.
We have finally built the Taj Mahal.
If you want to be together forever, it's hard to choose a nice...
Here it is. Ta-da! Just like in real life, surrounded by snow. We're probably not going to have time to build anything else. Obviously, Christ the Redeemer would be nothing of any use for us anyway. Honestly, the Empire State Building wouldn't be all that useful either. I'm just going to claim this. We're never going to build it, but I just don't want the AI to build it. I know it's incredibly rude, but it is what it is. Yeah, you need 62 turns, and yeah, you could have 5 or 6 cities work on that, but we're still not going to have time. So we're just going to spam out some more robotics until the end of the game. That's fine. That one's got a market quarters on it. I don't care. Does not matter. And then honestly at that point we can just... There you go. You should be good until the end of the game at this point. A CAD. Get down a robotics factory. And then you're just going to just build a few military units just in case if things really hit the fan. Likewise, you're just going to put down... I know it has a market quarter on it, don't care. Population's gone up and gone down, gone up and gone down. So that's pretty much half the notification of this game. You gained a population. You've lost a population. You've gained a population. You've lost a population. You take your population in, you take your population out, in, out, shake your population all about. We got access to the steam engine, and we're not going to be able to do any of those techs before the timer ends, so just pick that one. So, needless to say, I'm going to kind of wrap things up in terms of conversation while this is going on, because might as well just put this in that mode too. Maybe we'll get an extra tech out of it, who knows. So needless to say, having this been the first game that I've really played through... Oh, interestingly, the AIs are appeasing now. They're alarmed by our recent behaviour but want to deal with it peacefully. That recent behaviour, by the way, is us just winning the game. That's it. But yes, in terms of how this game... Obviously, it's the first time I've played it on a YouTube video series. I'd played it once beforehand. A lot of mistakes have been made, and you can tell, given the fact that this is the last turn, games reach the turn limit. I'll apparently be remembered as a mythical ruler of the Japanese. But given that we're still probably like 20 techs away from the end, it hasn't been the most efficient. But that was a little bit self-inflicted because we made it a Pangaea-ish map, right? But yeah, anytime anybody's got any suggestion at all of how to improve playstyle, always let me know. Like, I'm not one of those that takes offense to that. Having said that, advice has to at least be correct. It's very easy to be, and I've done this before, where you're kind of an armchair viewer in the background, and you're like, hey, this is how you do X. And then it turns out that you're wrong, and then that's embarrassing. But honestly, I'm pretty relaxed. So we are going to... Oh, it's an idle city. For the very last time, let's just say... I didn't actually know that it changed notification. I didn't realize it actually showed locked up there. That's interesting. I'm assuming that's just because, yeah, of that city specifically. I don't think there's a limit on how many cities you can put into collective minds. But it's just interesting. And as is appropriate for this, we have starvation right at the end of our game. So we're going to hit end game. And yeah.
How will humankind remember the empire you have created and its remarkable achievements? For it is yours that has left the greatest mark on the endless story of humankind. You will be remembered as a leader that excelled at many things, not one. Your fame was due to the balance of your skills. You also gained fame from the construction of a wonder. Amazing. Congratulations on the success of your ambitions. If there is another thing you should be remembered for, it is for the green, thriving world you leave to the future. And I must note the role of faith in your success. To lead a religion in an increasingly secular world is no mean feat. And though your people may have found it difficult, history is certainly impressed. You participated in the longest war. Congratulations. Under your guidance, the thrilling tale of humankind has been rewritten in your own words. There may be future adventures and deeds, and even grander scope for this grand story. Regardless, you have left a great mark and answered the question: how far will you push humankind?
Please explain to me how this cutscene worked, but most of the others didn't. Who knows? But we did make it to just over 5,000 fame, so at least that's something. And yes, despite the fact that the AI worked out, hey, we're losing, it just decided, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Apparently our best era was the ancient era. That probably says a lot. And yes, when you do complete a game, you do get quite a lot of, in my case, slightly laggy graphics, because obviously I've got, OBS going on. But yes, it shows you your best era, which for me was, well, the first real era. And then it kind of just goes through this manually. You can skip it, but I just have it going on in the background so you can kind of see what it looks like more than anything else. It actually surprises me, and with games along this line, so games like Civ 2, and especially with Europa Universalis 4, it's amazing to me how many people don't actually ever complete a game. And don't get me wrong, there are certain games I'm like that too. Games like Alpha Centauri, which in my mind is just such a fun concept, it's such a good story written into a game. But it really suffers from being on the Civ 2 engine, so it feels really, really lethargic, and the interface is horrendous. This game needs a lot of it. We're not going to watch all of theirs as well. Let's skip all that. But then you get all your stats at the end, a bit like Civ. And it'll show your best cities. Haojing, longest wars against the Ottomans, your longest ideology was liberty, 74 curiosities found. And then, yeah, we were pushed. Black doesn't really show up very well on this graph, does it? But we were pushed pretty hard by them most of the way. Albeit, I think that's just because we weren't very good at the game, honestly. But then you can see how the science really spirals out of control by the end. The idea is you get to this era 50 turns earlier, and then you can just pile into the science, get to the end game, and you'll see things like, launching the rocket into space, right? We never really did that. But we definitely ended up with the most cities by a long, long way. We didn't really deal with religion, at all, look at it. But then again, even the AI really didn't do very well when it comes to religion. So nothing really massively spread. But here's the thing, we always had way more population than the AI did. After about turn 50. That's really what made this go the way that it did. We did unlock mercantilism, but you can play this game forever at this point, but we're at the end right now, so we're going to cut it. Appreciate your time and watching the way through this. I imagine there were probably some points that were really painful, as I can appreciate as much. But no, I appreciate it very much. Hang around for future games. Maybe some more of this, maybe not. We'll see how it goes. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care. Thank you for watching the video.